very, very much welcome your feedback and appreciate your involvement. So let's go ahead and hear from the speakers that are representing so many different groups throughout or neighborhoods throughout our city. And again, we welcome you. The first speaker is Julie Esselt, and then Dr. Courtney James, and then Craig Williams, and then I'll name the next three. Doctor?
Yes, hi. I wanted to make sure I know how to use this audiovisual thing before we start.
We'll help you out. We won't start it until it's working. How's that? You got it up there? Right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Courtney James, and I'm here because 2 weeks ago I went through what could be described as a nightmare in my own home. I was upstairs in my office working during the daytime, as I often do, when I heard a frantic knock at the front door. Now, I'm not expecting anyone, so I chose not to answer. However, there was something unnerving about this knock. And so, as a precaution, I grabbed a pistol in one hand and a cordless phone in the other, and I walked to the end of my upstairs hallway where I could keep an eye on the front door and also the rear windows. Well, as I was standing there, I was utterly, I don't know what to say. The knock had stopped, and I now heard male voices coming from the rear of my house. Now, it was very clear to me what was going to happen. I was about to get robbed, so I used the phone and I dialed 911 and apprised the operator of my situation. Now, at this point, some people would say, well, you could have turned on the light, you could have made noise, you could have set off your alarm, you could have done something to frighten them away, but I know people who've been robbed. I know how this works. If I were to scare them away, they would just go to the next house and rob the next empty home. In fact, they found stolen goods in the perpetrator's cars, presumably from a previous burglary. So just in my anger, I decided that this has to end, and this is going to end here. And one way or the other, their chosen career was going to end that day. Hopefully the police would get there first, but if not, there were other means. So as I was waiting for the police, the kicking started at the rear door, and I was absolutely petrified. To my surprise, the door didn't open. They kicked again, and it still didn't open. And then they gave up, and I saw the car drive off. Well, I told the dispatcher, I described the car, and she radioed that to the police who were en route responding. And as it turns out, they found the car, they saw the car, pulled it over, pinned them down, and arrested all 4 individuals. So it was a pretty good thing. So my thought was, despite the terror that I felt, score one for the good guys, or at least that's what I thought until in the days that followed I learned a little bit more about my 4 new friends who chose to visit me that day. Now, in the interest of time, I'll skip over the first 2. But this is the 3rd gentleman, and actually the person who I saw peer through my window before the kicking started. And from the smug look on his face, he has no idea how close he came to getting a bullet through his head, right through the window. But I restrained myself. And I have no regrets there. But in looking at his record, prior to entering my house, Mr. Bird had 17 misdemeanors and 5 felonies. He now has 7 felonies. And then it gets worse. Let me introduce you to Ms. Avery. She has, prior to entering my home, 4 misdemeanors and 16 felony charges on her record. Okay? So 16 felony charges. So this last slide summarizes essentially the records, the misdemeanor and felony records for all 4 individuals. The numbers in parentheses are what their counts stand as after they came to my house, with the other numbers being before. Collectively, these 4 individuals have, to date, 64 counts on them. 64 counts. And of course, with Miss Avery bringing up the rear with 19 felony counts now. So my question to you, or my questions are, number 1, what does it take to take a person off the street? How many felonies how many felonies does a person have to have? And more so, realistically, what has to happen before we find the jail to put these people either into or under? Does something have to happen to me? Was I supposed to die that day? Is a member of the community supposed to die before we can put these people in the jail or the electric chair that they deserve? It is absolutely unconscionable to think that these people, these animals, and it's my understanding that at least one of them, the gentleman, Mr. Bird, is free today. I don't know about Miss Avery. So clearly something is wrong. Clearly the citizens are at unnecessary risk. I stood in my house risking my life for people who should not have even been walking the streets. And so and I thank you, and I'll close by simply saying that something's clearly wrong with the system, and I pledge to do everything that I can to right the system and to fix these problems, and I expect you to do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.